Hello YouTube, back with another video. Today we're going over some God stuff. We've been making some God videos lately and want to start making some more. Today we're going to be going over why God allows suffering. Got some examples and some verses, and I'm going to be explaining to you guys why God allows suffering, because a lot of people don't understand and they get it confused and they think that God's out to hurt people and that he wants them to suffer, which isn't the case. So the first thing, and one of the most important things on why God allows suffering, is because God gave us free will, right? So God gave us the ability to do whatever we want, choose whatever we want, make decisions that we want, right? And as humans, a lot of the decisions we make can influence suffering, right? Like, for example, let's say you work in a dangerous job, right? You can get hurt pretty often. You can endure physical pain, physical suffering. You chose that job and you knew what was going to happen. So you could experience, physical pain, physical suffering because of the job you chose. You could, for example, you could put yourself through like mental battles, like you make stupid decisions and you hang around with the wrong people, and that can really, mess with your mind. You can go through a lot more mental depressions and anxieties, and you could even be somebody that does, like, you could do drugs, you could drink, become an alcoholic, you could be somebody that watches porn. Like, you can do these things to yourself out of free will and make these decisions that can cause suffering in your mind. Maybe not physically, like the physical things are, something dangerous that you decide to do, like, you can dive off of a bridge into water and, somehow hurt yourself. Like, these are decisions that you'll make, and this isn't God doing this to you. God isn't, making you do these things. These are all out of free will, which he gave us. You decide to do these things, and you can cause your own pain. But back to the mental sufferings, like, drugs, alcohol, porn, the people you hang out with, the places you choose to live, like, these can all be influential on how you suffer mentally. And these are all because of your decisions. God didn't, make you do these things. You did them on your own out of free will, which he gave you. And so don't sit there and be like, God, why am I suffering? God, why did you put me through this pain? God, why do I feel this way? Like, don't blame God for these things, right? This isn't God doing this to you. God gave you free will. This is your doing. You decided to do these things. You decided to make these decisions. So this pain, this is on you. This is your free will. If you didn't want to experience these things, now there's times where, like, there's people out there that they don't want these things. Like, there's kids out there, like, in terrible situations that are in, foster homes, or, they're living with people they don't want to live with that treat them terribly. Like, this isn't, God's fault, and this isn't these kids' faults. Like, what this is like, just the situation these kids in is like the parents' fault. Maybe the parents died, right? That was part of God's plan. Everybody dies, and some parents, they just don't want their kids, so they adopt them. Don't blame God for that. Like, this was the parents' decision out of free will. It sucks for the kid. It's not the kid's fault, but it was the parents' free will that caused that pain, not God, right? So, there's some things that you can't choose that cause you suffering, but there's also those things that, are your decisions, like choosing to become an alcoholic, choosing to do drugs. The people you hang out with, you get to decide those, and those people can cause you suffering. So there's these things, right, that are going to cause you suffering out of your own decisions, not God. Like, he gave you this free will to do and make your own decisions, and if you're suffering because of them, it's on you. Like, God didn't do this to you. God gave you the free will, and this is what you did with it. And then, there's the people that are in situations because of other people, and it's not even their fault, but it's still not God, it's the other people's fault. um, Suffering can also develop character. Sometimes you're put through things to become a better person, right? Like, let's say, this is an example for me. I was in a relationship for almost 2 years, my first relationship ever, and I learned a lot of things. I experienced a lot of things. I was put through a lot of pain and a lot of battles that I had to overcome. And I know now, going into my next relationship with somebody, that I'm going to be more prepared for these things. I'm going to be more mature. I know I also got closer with God in this relationship because, he was that one person that was always going to be there for me at all times. I became spiritually close to him, and I just became like more aware of things, more mature. I learned different things that I'm gonna be more prepared for, and this suffering was like to teach me to, like, how to mature and grow up, right? Sometimes you're put through battles in your life that are going to make you a better person and just make you more mature. And I think relationships are a good example of this. When you break up with somebody or you're broken up with, no matter how long you were with that person, you're going to learn something that is going to prepare you for the next time. And whatever you're suffering from in that, it's going to teach you something and help you grow. And I experienced that after being in a relationship for almost 2 years. Getting out of it, I know a lot more now. I know what to expect and what to do differently, and just like these things, right? Like, it's not even just relationships, it's just different. Like, you could go into a job and you can suffer through that job and realize, hey, this isn't right for me, I want to do something else. And suffering through that job can just help you grow as a person. And there's these things that are just like, they're your own decisions, right? Like, you choose to get into a relationship, you choose that job, but you can also learn a lot through those things. And there's other examples besides just being in a relationship or being at the wrong job. Like, there's a lot of things out there that are going to teach you lessons and help you mature more, but these were just two examples that I had. And they're going to help you grow and become a better person, right? And so that's another reason of God's allowing to suffer, is just for your own growth as a person, and just becoming a better person, becoming more mature, more aware. So that's another example. God's sovereignty and plan. This is another really big thing. You could go through something terrible and suffer terrible. Maybe it's from free will, maybe it isn't, but this could all be part of God's plan to have something way bigger for you in your future, right? You could go through the worst pain for the longest time, maybe even the shortest time, and then get hit with the biggest blessing down the road. Like, you can, again, back to the relationship thing or the job thing, maybe you went through like the hardest relationship ever and you went through a lot of pain, but you also learned a lot through that, right? And then in God's plan, the next relationship you get with, maybe that one doesn't work out either, but eventually you're going to get with that right person that's going to make you happy, and you are going to be more knowledgeable about how to act in a relationship and be more mature. And this was all part of God's plan. It was to have you in a relationship or relationships and teach you these things, so that way when he puts the right person in your life, you're ready, you're mature, and you know what to expect, you know what to do for this person. And for the job, like, you could have a terrible job or terrible jobs, right? And eventually down the road, God, he gifts you with an amazing job that makes you happy, pays you well. And this was all just part of God's plan, right? Just suffering through things to grow you as a person and then have a gift given to you later on is all part of God's plan. That's another reason suffering is a big thing. You learn the most and become more mature during the time of suffering. People that have everything given to them and like aren't like, they don't suffer very much, these people just like, I don't know really how to say it, but like they don't understand. I feel like a lot of these people are the most immature ones because they've never been hit with any sort of reality, and they're just rude and mean. And I think that the people that have suffered the most and went through the most pain and the most trauma tend to be usually the better people, because they understand what it's like. So, suffering really is important for growth, spiritual growth, self-growth, all these kind of things. Like, God has this as his plan to have you suffer through things, not because he wants to put you in pain, but because he wants you to grow, and he will gift you with something amazing, and it will all be worth it. And I think that suffering is, super important. It may suck in the moment, you may hate it, and it may be super painful, but never blame God for your suffering. It's all part of his plan. He has something great for you down the road, and you just have to put your trust and your faith in him, and he's always going to be there for you. But if you're going to put your worries into God's hands, you have to have that faith that he's going to be there for you and he's going to bless you. But suffering for God's plan is like just such a big thing. I feel like you just have to suffer to have something great given to you. So that's another big thing. And then the last one, the example of Jesus suffering himself, right? He suffered, human pain as a God. And, this just shows like his redemptiveness, as a God. Like, he was put here on earth as a man, and he suffered for us. And for a God to do that, a loving God to do that, like, it's almost like we just, we need to maybe not experience what he went through, obviously, but we need to suffer to just, get closer to him. You know what I mean? Like, he went through the worst pain ever for us and to save us. And, I feel like we should, suffer through our, certain things. Like, again, not what Jesus went through exactly, but, just certain sufferings, just to kind of understand like what he did for us, right? And I just think it's super important that like our God suffered the worst pain ever for us. We should, have our certain sufferings to, help us grow closer to God. But I kind of wanted to go over this video and these things just to get you guys to understand, because a lot of people are confused about it. I'm going to start making more videos like this to kind of fill people's brains with knowledge on things that they don't know. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll be back with you guys next time. Have a blessed rest of your night, guys.